Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio and my watercolor painting demonstration today. I'm broadcasting live from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm broadcasting out live to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram later on, and going to Twitch. So those are the outpost areas that I'm broadcasting to. If you're checking in for the first time today, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It helps with my rating. I'm in the studio today live with my wife Gloria,
Welcome, everyone.
and she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room. The chat room's live, so feel free to give me a comment or a question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Today, I'm going to do another flower arrangement a little bit. This was I did a still life setup in my studio, and I took a photograph. But what I found out was that the dark background is an interesting way to paint. So I'm going to try and figure out the best way to paint a dark background, and also show you how to. I think my emphasis today is the vase. So I'm going to title my painting "Vase and Vegetables" because those are going to be the highlights today. So let me go over to my painting table, and let me show you how I get started. So there's a photograph today of my setup. You can see here it's dark flowers, dark arrangement, and a dark background. Okay, so I'll show you how I'm going to highlight that a little bit. But the vase is really the I would say the star of the show. Is white against black, so that's going to be my emphasis, the vase. And I've got some fruit down there. I got a pepper and hot pepper and another flower. So that's my setup. But a dark background against the dark subject matter is a challenge sometimes. So let me get started on this. What I did was I transferred the subject to watercolor paper, and what I'm using here, I'm using the Strathmore watercolor pad, 140 pound 9 by 12 sheets of watercolor paper. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use today, 140 pound. Yeah, and that supply is available on my website, everettswatercolors.com. Now, with my colors today, I'm going to use a lot of colors today. I'm going to start over here with the flowers. I'm going to use lavender. I'm going to use lavender in the flowers. Also, I'm going to use a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of royal blue. That's going to be the darker background. I'll be using a little bit of Payne's gray. And for the flower, for the light flower up there, I'm going to use quinacridone gold and a little bit of Pyrrole red over here. Quinacridone violet I'll be using in the darker flowers, that and the blue. Permanent orange I'll be using that along with the red for that red orange flower. And then down here I've got a little bit of permanent yellow lemon, which I'll mix in with the blues to give me a green for the leaves and leavery. And I've got yellow ochre and burnt sienna. That'll be for the foreground, for the tabletop and so forth. So those are the colors I'm going to use from my palette today. These are Holbein Artist watercolor paints, and they're available on my website also, everettswatercolors.com. So I'm going to move these aside, but I wanted to show you the colors I'm using. I'm using quite a bit. And these will be, I'll have these listed also in the video description below, along with my website. Okay, I'm going to be using two brushes today mainly. I'm using the two round brushes. I've got the number 10 Escrado brush, which is a synthetic brush. I'm using the Holbein number 16 round. Okay, those will be my brushes. And I found that painting flowers and so forth that the round brushes a lot friendlier, I think, for doing flowers because I have a point here and so forth. But I'm going to use my standard half-inch Holbein flat brush, though. I'll be using that to mix up some of the colors. So let me get started. I'm going to start out with the lavender. I'm going to mix up a little bit of lavender up here. And let me get my spray bottle. This dot spray bottle, Everett's Watercolors. Palette in a bottle dot sprayer. Sold exclusively on Everett's Watercolors. And I'm going to squirt a little bit of water in here, get everything nice and wet into the colors I'm going to use. So I use the spray bottle to moisten my palette and also to wet up my colors a little bit. All right. Now the colors are all right. So this is lavender up here in the corner. I'm going to have a little bit. I'll give you for those flowers, and I'll show you how I do that. So I get that'll be one brush. I'm going to just load the brush there, and I'm going to rinse the brush out. And also in those darker flowers, I'm going to use a little bit of quinacridone violet. So I'll have that color over here ready to go. Okay. So those are the first two colors I'm going to use for the flowers in the background. Okay, rinse out the flat brush. I always wash out my brushes before I change colors. Okay, now I'm going to load my brushes up. So the first one I'm going to load up is number 12. Number 12 round a Scotto brush, which is a nice synthetic brush. Okay, I'm going to load up. You load the brush paint from the side. And I'm also going to load up the number 15 round, 16 round. I keep remembering number 16. And I'm going to load that from the palette. Again, load it from the side. So I'm going to load up the quinacridone violet on the larger brush. Okay, so these two brushes now, I'm going to paint these flowers. So with the now the brush stroke I'm going to use here is just I'm going to point the brush because I got a pointed shape here. And I got my hand on the paper, and I'm going to do the outside edges here with the lavender color. Okay, and then I'm going to move around. I got five flowers here, so I'm going to do another one over here, and I'm just going to get that first color going. So with the lavender, this is a beautiful color, and that's that light color you'll see in the photo reference. So I'm trying to shape these up a little bit, make them look like the flowers in the paint. And this is not the most important part of the painting. This is just to do a little background, but I want to get a nice color started here. So these are the lavender edges or tips of these flowers, and I'm going to leave them a little bit wet because I'm going to go behind them with the quinacridone violet, and then the paints will run together, blend naturally. Yeah, I'm just kind of shaping the edges a little bit here because these blossoms have a little pointed edge to them. And these are artificial flowers. So let me just do something here. Now you can see here. So what I did now is I put the lavender on the edge of the flowers up here. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the quinacridone violet. And what I'm going to do here, is going to start at the base, and I'm going to go up into the flower color. So I start at the base of the flower and go up, and to let that color blend. It's the second flower I've got here. So I'm starting from the base of the flower and then moving up into the tips or the edges. And let those color. Now I'm going to let the watercolor do its thing. Just going to let it blend on its own. And over here, I'm starting at the center of the flower or toward the central portion of the flower. Then I'm brushing up into the lighter color. And I'm going to let it blend naturally. And this one down here, just a little bit more. So these are these darker flowers that are in the background. I'm going to let that sit like that, okay? And I got one more here I want to put in. So let me put that in. I got one more. I found just by experimenting with the colors here, this turns out to be a beautiful color combination, this quinacridone violet and this lavender. It turned out to be a very beautiful combination there once it dries out. Okay. All right, now I'm going to work on the other flowers. I'm going to do all the flowers first. So let me change my colors here. Now I'm going to work on the I'm going to work on this yellow red flower down here. This one and this one. So I need to change the colors. So I'll mix up a little bit of brighter color. So I'm going to use, first of all, in the center, I'm going to use this quinacridone gold. It's a beautiful yellow. Quinacridone gold. I'm going to mix that up over here. That's the quinacridone gold I'm going to use in the center of those flowers. And then on the outside, I'm going to start with a little bit of permanent yellow orange. I'll use that color on the portion of the flower. And then I'm going to accent it with a little bit of Pyrrole red. So I have three colors going on here with this one particular flower. Okay, I'll rinse out my brush. Okay, so I'm going to start with the two brushes again. I'm going to start with a smaller brush. Start with my smaller brush here and load it up with quinacridone gold. And I'm going to paint the center portion of these flowers. Now these are synthetic flowers. I think the artificial flower, I think this is supposed to be looking like a sunflower or something, but it's just a flower with color on it. It's just arrangements. So it really doesn't matter. It's just the shape and the color. And this one down here, with that yellow center, that dark yellow center in the middle of each flower. Okay, all right. And then I'm going to take the, let's see, I'll take the same brush. I'll take the same brush and I'm going to load it with the orange. This is a permanent orange. And I think I'll start down here. I put that right in there. Now I'm going from the center and I'm stroking outward toward the end. I got my hand on the paper for keep the brush steady. I'm going from the center and I'm going to brush outward. Okay. I'm going to do the other one now. The one up here in the vase, I'm going to paint that one. Again, I'm starting from the center and painting out with a stroke using the tip of the brush. This is a small area, so I'm using this fine, smaller brush to cover this smaller area to keep the petals defined. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to take my, I'm going to take the big, I better use the same brush. I'm going to just rinse it out. And I'm going to go, now I'm going into the Pyrrole red. Go into the Pyrrole red. I'm going to put just a, now I'm going to go in now and let that bleed into that blend, into that orange I put in there to give a little more color. You'll still see the orange, but it'll be a lot of red showing up also. I'm going to let that blend in. Let it blend. I'm letting the watercolor do its own thing now. I'm just letting it blend by itself. That's the best part of watercolor, is just by letting the natural flow of the water and the paint. Let's see. I'm kind of looking over and seeing how the flow of paint's going. Rinse out my brush. Pick up some more orange. I think I'll go into the, I think we'll go in here to the center now. I'm gonna leave a little white paper showing. I think that gives it a little sparkle. So leaving a little bit of white paper in that flower just for interest. Okay, that's nice and red. Now I'm checking my edges now, just to double check the edges before I let it go. And I'm making sure these have little sharp points to them, so I'm going ahead and just put that in. A little definition. Okay, I'm happy with that. All right, now I'm going to blow dry. And what I'm using today, I'm using a new blow dryer. This is called a Ranger heated craft tool, and I got this recommended by my wife Gloria, who does crafting with her card making, and she recommended this to me to look at, and I really think it turned out. You can see how quiet it is here when I'm blow drying the flowers. So this is a new tool I picked up this week, and I'm really having a good time with it. It really does a good job. So I'll make a note of it in my remarks, in my description, so if you're interested in this, you can follow through. I'll move the paper a little bit. Okay, the darker flowers dried up real nice and quick. They're already dry. I'll work on these darker flowers, these dark reds. I got the board tilted about 15 degrees, and also the paint and water is running down toward the bottom, so that also helps with a little bit of the color control. It'll make the bottoms a little bit darker than the top, just from natural flow. So I started out with the lavender at the top. That gives me that nice, I guess, lighter edge, and then I put the quinacridone violet in the base to give it the darker bottom. And then on these these red flowers, I put orange flowers. I put the yellow and the orange and the red on their combination, and just let the paint flow. Just let the paint flow. Okay, now I'm going to make up one more combination. You see there's a bunch of greens in here, and I'm going to make another combination of that. So the colors I'm going to use, I'm going to make up a green, and so I'm going to mix up ultramarine blue and permanent lemon yellow. It gives me a nice green. And see, I'll need a little bit more of that, so make a nice mix over here. Ultramarine blue with permanent lemon yellow. But also I'm going to add a third color. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up some lavender, and I'm going to add into that mix. What that does, that lavender it dulls it down so that I don't want a green look. I want more of a toned down green. And that's what the lavender does. It tones that color down. It takes that high value of that green and mutes it down into a softer green, and that really turned out nice. Okay, all right, now I'm going to pick up my number 16 round, make sure it's washed out. It had a lot of violet in there, and I'm going to load it up with that green. I'm going to go in now and paint the leaves. And you can see there, it's that bright color that I mixed up with the blue and the yellow. Now, as you can see, the color it has now, it's not as bright as it was out of the tube, and that's because I mixed it in with lavender. And I found that out too. The mixture of lavender in with a lot of colors really is another beautiful way of getting another color that mutes it down or neutralizes. You're neutralizing the intensity of the color is what you're doing. And by neutralizing, you're making it more neutral and less intense color. Because sometimes the greens and the yellows, they take over. Oh, put this green up in here. Get some stalks in there also. We can make it more believable. Then we come down here and we got another green in this section. Stem here. So I'm spending a time here on the flowers because this is something I think people are interested in, is how to paint flowers, and I'm becoming more interested in painting more flowers and vegetables. That's why I picked the flowers today, but I also added vegetables to my composition, just for added interest. And I lived on a farm for many years when I was growing up in high school, before high school, and in high school, and I grew a lot of vegetables, so I know how to farm. And I know farmers out there really enjoy their lives. It's a good way to, as a youngster, it's a good way to grow up on a farm. You learn a lot of things in a farm, working on a farm. Okay, all right, that's enough greenery on that. And okay, so I'm going to dry this. I have to dry this out again too. So let me dry the green. Then I'll put some background in. So if you turn on this little Ranger again, you can see how quiet it is. It's nice and quiet, and I can also talk over it without fear of being overcome with the sound. Okay, so I toned down the green mixture of ultramarine blue and permanent yellow lemon, and I toned it down by adding a little bit of lavender, which gave me a muted green, which you can see the color there. If you look at the color in the photograph, you can see it's pretty muted. It's not dark. And that's just artificial flowers, but I like that greenery. I like that dull green anyway. I don't like the bright green in this particular configuration. Because the background here is flower, and the background behind is all darker anyway. So that kind of goes in with my color scheme. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix up a color for the. Let's see. I'm thinking about yeah. You know what? I'm gonna put my vegetables in too. Then I'll work on the backgrounds. I think what I'll do, I'll take the number 16 round, and I'll put the pepper in. Now I've got a red pepper in the photograph, and so I'm going to use that. This is Pyrrole red. And I'm going to add the red pepper in the foreground with a green stem. So I'll just go ahead and paint in the shape. The most important about when you paint vegetables, or like a pepper, is get the proper shape. It really doesn't matter how big you make it or how small you make it, but if you get the good shape or outline, then it becomes a more believable subject. And so that's the only thing about vegetables, is that they're pretty simple to paint and draw, but the real secret to making them look real is to make sure you get a nice shape in the outline. And I'm going to leave there's a little bit of gloss, or a little bit of reflection here on the outside, so I'm going to take advantage of that and leave some white paper to show that reflection. So the white paper is really the reflection off of the glass. And I really didn't have really a strong light shining on this particular subject matter. I just wanted to get the natural color. I didn't want to really highlight anything other than the shapes themselves. So there's not a strong shadow pattern. I am going to put a shadow pattern, but there's not a very strong shadow pattern. All right, that's a good looking pepper there. I like that. Hey, I was off the paper. I'm sorry. All right, I gotta watch that. I gotta be careful more of where I paint so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, now this pepper over here, I think it's a jalapeno. Whatever it is, it's a hot pepper. Let's see. So I'm going to use this smaller brush, and I don't want to use the dull green here because this is a brighter color green. You can see here. Now the color here is much brighter. It's also got light up, but it's much brighter than the green up here. This is dull, but this is much brighter. So I'm going to use a brighter. Well, I'll use the same mix, but I won't dull it down. So I'm going to use flat brush, pick up some ultramarine blue, and I'll pick up that lemon yellow, Pyrrole lemon. Now I get that nice bright green. Now you can see here the difference now between the green now without it being dulled down. Okay, now I'm going to take my number 16 round here. Make sure I've got the paint out of it. Okay, and I'm going to paint this green pepper over here. And you can see here right away that the color is much brighter than the one I mixed with the lavender, because the lavender was a neutralizing agent, a neutralizing color. And this has also got some reflections on it, so I'm going to leave some white paper showing as reflections. So the white paper shows a reflection of the. Now again, the shape of the object is important, because that shows a little bit about what it is, and those who are familiar with this type of pepper knows what it is. And I'm going to pick up a little more yellow. I think I'm going to put a little more yellow into it. So add a little bit more yellow to the green, a little more yellow into the mix. Make it a nice light green. Okay, and then while I'm doing that, I can get the green on here over on the pepper, of the red pepper. So over here, I'm going to add the stem on this side. Okay, all right. Okay, now all I got to do is paint the background. So I've got the two red flowers. The flowers up here. I got the red pepper and the green pepper. All right. And if you'll notice, this configuration, I can talk a little bit about my idea of my setup here. What I have here, I think your eye. I find the point will point here. This flower here will bring you down to here, and then the red pepper. It takes you over to here, and it takes you back up. So there's a movement here in your eye of the painting. Okay, so that's kind of the way I set the configuration up. There's the location of each one of these items. Now the most important thing is the vase itself, white. I'm going to leave it white, so I got to paint around it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up a dark color, and let me take out some of this. I don't need this color here very much. I'll leave some of it in the palette, doesn't matter, because I'm going to cover it up anyway. So I'm going to mix up a lot of dark color. I'm going to use royal blue. This is the darkest blue I have on my palette, royal blue. So I'm going to mix that up in here in the palette. Now I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson. That'll give me a real dark purple. And then I'm going to add a little bit of put a little bit of burnt sienna. Put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. It'll darken it up even more. And then finally a touch of Payne's gray. That'll really That'll really keep it dark. But that royal blue is my base color in there. The royal blue is the base dark. Then I add in any other color I want on top of that to make it even darker. Okay, now I'm going to go in now and put in the background. And I can wet the paper just a little bit. Help it out. Just to get the water. I'll put a little bit of water with my Ochre brush. And I think I'll do that because the paper is dry and why fight the dry paper when I can put a little bit of water on it to get it flowing. But I don't want too much water, so I don't want to dilute the paint. So it's really a choice of getting too much water in or too little water. Now I'm going to have a variety of color up here. It's going to be purples and blues and a little bit of browns. So it's going to be a mixture of colors up here in this particular area. Now I'm going to paint around these flowers. Now I'm going to leave a little bit of white paper showing it to show the little tips here of the flowers, the little pointed edges. I'll leave those. I'll leave some white paper, but I'll come very close to the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the basic background in there. Then I can go in and do a little bit of fine tuning once I get the background in there. So I'm just kind of going around now, getting a little bit of the edges started. Most of that dark color in there. And so I'm putting this is something, it's a little bit, not tricky, but it's something, in order to plan the contrast. Yeah, remember last week I did a flower and I did a light background with the brighter colors and so forth. But I decided to try this today. I'm going to try a dark background against a darker flower arrangement. And I think it comes down to whatever colors you use, you can make it work. By making the values different. Even though it's a dark color, by changing the value of the colors, making one darker than the other, I think it makes it work as far as definition and so forth. Now I'm going to go in here between. I like to get the outside done first. And then I go in and work on the details in the middle. So using this big 16 brush, you can see how much paint I can get into this number 16 round. It really holds a lot of paint, and I get a lot of control over where I want to put it with the sides and with the edges, and with the point of the brush, I can go in and get the detail around the flowers that I want. So that's a nice thing about this number 16 round. It really does a lot of good technical stuff with the brushwork. Now, as I come down here, I'm going to be very careful around the vase. So because this is the centerpiece of my painting right here. The vase, along with the vegetables. So now I'm taking a really careful aim here at the edges. Make it nice and smooth. Then I can come down here and work on the tabletop here. Come to the edge of the vase, and then get the tabletop. And that doesn't have to be that accurate. It can be just a general horizontal line. It's not, in most paintings you have a horizon line. Well, that's more the back of this table here, or the back of my presentation is a horizon line. And I can leave those brush strokes just the way they are. I mean, it gives a nice pattern in the background. Doesn't have to be. Now I might turn this a little bit so I can get a little more control over where my brush goes. Making sure I don't run out of paint here. So let me load up over a little black, a little bit of burnt, a little bit of Payne's gray, more of that royal blue, and a little bit of glycerin crimson, and pick up a little bit of this burnt sienna. So I got a lot of dark colors in here, all the darkest colors on my palette. So I want this to be really dark, just like the photograph. It has a dark background. And now I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to go in here and paint around these flower edges. Catch this one over here now. If I leave a little white paper, that's okay. That gives a little bit of sparkle in the painting. That's okay. I always like a little bit of sparkle. Here, I'll try to separate a little bit of that flower there. There's a smaller one. And then, from the photograph, you really can't tell unless you look at it very closely how many flowers are in here. But I noticed it, and of course I took the photograph, so I know what's there. And let's see, I'm working upside down now, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to turn the painting around to get the angle. So that's not a problem. Just instead of moving the paintbrush around, you can move the painting around. Either way works. Okay, and there's a little space over here. I'm going to work on the inside here, get this done so I get more into the bigger spot. So just a little bit of paint control. That one there I want to leave alone. I'm going to put some more. Yeah, I guess I can put the black in there. Yeah, just a little more definition of the black. The black is the background. Okay. Then come over here to finish. Oh, I got to keep moving this around. Hope I didn't move it too much there for you to see. What I'm doing is trying to fill in the black spots, the black background or dark background. It's mainly it looks black because I got a lot of dark colors in here. A lot of blues, a lot of browns, purple, with a touch of Payne's gray. Payne's gray is there, but it's not the prominent. That royal blue is most of a prominent color in the mix. Trying to keep that color really dark. One side can be a little bit darker than the other because I got light coming in. Not much light, but I can pretend that I have light over there. Let's get a little bit here in the center. Break up that shape there just a little bit.
We have a question.
Yes.
If does the dark background bring the flat flowers forward?
No. No. The answer is the black background is just a black background. The flowers will come forward a little bit because they're light or a different color. And I guess it could look that way, but when I finish the painting, you'll see that it really doesn't matter because the flowers are separate now. I've separated them with the color and the value of the color. This dark background is just to have a background or a and upside down and draw this straight. Okay. Yeah, the real challenge of this painting I thought would be to paint a dark background with a darker subject matter, which is this dark flowers. So I thought that was my challenge today, was to do a painting with dark on dark, but also to highlight the lights, because the highlight light will be the vase, the white vase, and the lighter flowers, the lighter color flowers. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I got a few things I want to make up, but I want to get the front part now. Now the front part, I'm going to put in a little bit of, if you'll notice here, it's a little bit of dull brown, which is a little mixture of brown. So what I'll do here is pick this up, use my sponge, and the thing about this big palette is easy to clean up with just a couple sponges. And going to mix up a little bit of burnt sienna, make a nice brown. Mix it in with a little bit of yellow ochre. I'll make sure I have a nice mixer that have enough to cover the area. So this covers the whole foreground, and this will be this will take a little bit faster than the upper part. Okay. Lots of water because it's going to be a light color. But here, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put that lavender in with this mix because I want to dull. If you notice, this is a bright colored brown, or bright, bright in terms of intensity. So I'm dulling down the intensity of that brown. So I want to be a duller brown. I want to be a muted brown. So I put a little more of that lavender now. So I'm using lavender as my neutralizer color. So lavender on top of this combination of yellow ochre and burnt sienna gives me a muted, dull brown, which is what I want. Again, I don't want it to be brighter than the flowers or brighter than the vegetables. Now I'm adding a lot of water because I want it to be light. So I'm adding water to it to lighten up the color. In watercolor, the way you can add white to it to lighten up, but you can add water to it, and that's what I'm doing. So this is going to be a dull brown tan in the foreground, and that's going to be my foreground contrasting with that dark background. And I'm using the number 16 round brush. You can see I can cover a lot of territory with this large round brush. Large brown brush. I've had to move the painting around a little bit today, up and down and so forth, so I can get the brush work where I wanted it. So I want the painting to be close enough for you to see what's going on. If I had it too far away, you couldn't see a lot of the details that I'm trying to show. Now again, I'm going to be very careful going around the white vase, and I'm going to hold the brush carefully, and I'm going to paint around the edges of the main subject, which is the white vase. Okay, and on the other side, one little section here. And I'll go around these objects here on the tabletop. There was this flower here on the side, front side, and I go around the pepper, and just carefully move that color in there. Using the point of the number 16 round to come close to the edge, and then the body of the round, I'm using that to flatten out the colors, smooth it out. Over here with this green pepper, so I planned this painting also to highlight the vegetables here with this lighter background. So I thought the lighter background color of the tabletop showed off the vegetables a lot better. So they get more interest down here than the background flowers. So I chose the dark background on purpose to tone down the flower arrangement and make it less prominent. You can still see it because there's enough color there and enough value change that you can still see all the flowers and everything, but it doesn't take your eyes off the main characters here, which is going to be the vase and the vegetables. They're the brightest colors on the palette, on the painting. Okay. And one little section here around this one little flower. Again, it doesn't matter if you overlap it just slightly. It's a light color anyway. And the last couple of brush strokes here on this red pepper. Finish the outside edges. Before you do this, though, you want to make sure that the painting is dry, because if, for example, if this area here, if I had any wet paper, this color would spread right into it. So it's dry, so I have plenty of freedom here to paint around that subject without worrying about the paint blending or moving into that subject. As long as it's dry, you can paint around it without any problem. Cover up some of those whites. Some of those little blossoms that are forming, that's okay for texture. Shows a little variety into the foreground. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to do a quick check around to see if I've got everything covered that I want. And I might use a smaller brush now. And this is at number 12. This is a number 12, a Skoda. It's a synthetic brush, but it comes to a nice point. It's a nice round brush. And just do a little fine tuning around this. I'm going to pick up some of the excess. I can just make a thirsty brush to take out all the water of the brush. And I can pick up some extra paint that's laying there. I'm moving around some of the paint's wet, so I'm going to move around a little bit to make a little less blossom area, make a little more. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Few white edges up here. I'm not gonna worry about those edges up there. I think they're fine. It gives a little bit of contrast. Now what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna dry this, and we'll go back and add a couple shadows to finish it off. So I'm gonna use my Ranger dryer. Here it goes. So I added in a dark background, which has got some texture to it. You can see I left the brush strokes there in the background. You can see some texture showing. That's been dried. Now I'll go down here and dry the foreground. And leave the brush strokes where they are, give a little texture in the foreground. And what I like to do sometimes is take if I got a brush here that and move it along, move it along. So now I can test the paper a little bit to make sure it's dry. Here we go. This looks nice and dry. Now the paper feels cool. Feels warm, so that means it's dry. If it felt cool, then you know it's still damp. So now it's nice and dry. Okay. Okay. A little Ranger dryer does a good job. Does a good job. Okay. Now let me see here. There we go. Let me see. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to put let's see. As far as shadows go, I think I want to put. I'm going to put some more. I'm going to put a little more dark in here. There's extra water on the brush, so what it does, it lightens up that area. So I'm going to put some more darks back in there in that section. Let that dry a little more. Okay, inside the flower arrangement. Okay, emphasize that a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to take. Guess what? I'm going to take some more of that lavender, and I'm going to paint the inside. I'm going to go to the inside here now and put some lavender as like a shadow inside the vase. So I'm using this color now as a shadow color to emphasize the inside of I leave the lip or the edge white, which is what would happen when you're looking at the edge of a white vase. So that's the inside of the vase right there, all in shadow. Okay, that looks good. And then what I'll do now is I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue. I'm using almost all of. I haven't used everything on my palette, but I'm using a lot of colors today. I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue up here, in the top of my palette. And there's a design here on the vase, and I'm going to just put a little bit on there, just to spruce it up a little bit. So I'm going to just do a little bit of wiggle worm, just a little bit of strokes up there, and then down on the sides. Just to dress it up just a little bit. There is a little bit of design on the vase, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it. It's a makeup. I'm not going to copy what's there. Just put a little bit of texture in it. That puts that little design on the bottom of the vase, just to dress it up a little bit. And let's see, I'm going to put a little shadow pattern. Let's see, I'm going to try to tweak some more stuff here. I'm leaving the whites alone. I like the whites on the edge of the flower. That's fine. I like that. Okay. And so I'm going to add a little shadow pattern. I'm going to go in and take a little bit of purple, which is my quinacridone violet. And I'm using the number 12 Escoda brush, synthetic. And I'm going to take a little bit of that purple. See how beautiful it is? A beautiful purple. But it'll make a nice shadow pattern, nice shadow color. Okay. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to add a little bit down here at the bottom. Now that purple now mixed with this brown will give me a darker gray, or which is what I want. So before you put a color down, you want to know what the results would be. So I know I'm mixing. The way I'm mixing this now is I'm mixing this by glazing another color on top of what's there. So this brown, I'm glazing this purple on top. It's going to give me a shadow pattern or shadow color. So that's the edge of there, and I'm going to come up here. I'm going to kind of now. I'm just going to. I can put this shadow anywhere I want. I don't have a source of light, but I'm just going to imagine a source of light coming from above, shining down on this object. And that'll be enough to describe the light coming down from above. And that's basically what happened. And over here, I can do the same thing. I put a little shadow on this one. And we'll say the shadow's coming from above. The light's coming from above, so the shadow will be cast on this side. And this is not going to be like a smoother one. This has got a little rough surface to it. It's not exactly a smooth, perfect surface. Like that. And then I can come up here and do around the top part. And I get the indication of a little bend up here. I don't want to overemphasize too much, just showing that there is a little shadow there of that particular shape. Okay. And then for the little flower here, again, just a hint. And the vase itself would have a shadow. So I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in there, and this will kind of set the subject down on the paper. This gives it more dimension. And this is just to kind of put icing on the cake. A little bit of icing on the cake. Not too much, just enough, just a hint. A little shadow here under this flower. Okay, and the one shadow is the most important one, is the shadow on the vase itself. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say that the light's coming from here in this way, this direction. The light's coming this way. So I'm going to put a shadow on the left side of the vase. Now I'm not going to use the lavender here. I'm going to use Payne's gray. So I'll have a light, because I have a see, it's a white vase, so I use a gray, little gray tone with a shadow. Okay, that'll work. Okay, now this is the last mark I'm going to make on my painting. So this is the shadow. I'm going to come down here. Okay, and that will put around the edge. Okay, now let's put a mat around it. And bring it up a little bit so you can see it. Put a mat. I'm going to put a brown mat that fits the paper okay, and center it up a little bit. Voila! There's my vase and vegetable painting. Now the background was dark with a dark flowers arrangement, but I think you can see the flowers for sure. I mean, they're different colors, that makes them show up. And of course that orange flower brings you in there and brings you down into the vegetables down at the bottom. And the vegetables will shoot you around, or guide your eyes around into the painting again. So that's this end of my painting. Vase and vegetables. So let's go back to my main camera. And let me, gotta move a couple things here. Okay, that was an interesting painting. I think if you try a background that's different, and it's a challenge, to put dark colors, but I put some highlights in there on the flowers and highlights on the vegetables and so forth, and I think that makes it work. But I really enjoyed that painting. I enjoyed setting it up. It was a setup I did in my studio, and I took a photograph of it, and then I played around with the colors, and then and also invented some of the lighting and so forth, which is okay. That's what art's all about. A little bit of invention. So I'll be back again next Thursday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Painting with Everett, or Everett's Watercolors. And I'll be on this evening at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. 7:30 p.m. this evening. So I'll see you then. Okay, also remember, if you haven't seen it before, I do on Sunday I release a video on anyone can draw with one line. Okay, and that's an interesting little. I've done, this will be the fourth one, episode number 4 I've done, number 4 that I've done on that series. But it's just drawing a subject or an object with just one line drawing. And I think you'll find that interesting. Tonight I'm going to do a coffee cup. So you might find that interesting when you look it up.
Well, it's released on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a video. I'm live today and I'll be live tonight. So you'll see me live. But on Sunday it'll be a released video on Sunday. So you'll see it advertised. If you're subscribed to my channel, you'll see it notified on your social media. So
YouTube.
on YouTube especially, yeah. So until next, I'll see you on my next video. Bye.